Alright everybody, welcome back! So long-time viewers of the channel will know that my comfort BR, my fun spot, has for a very long time been around the 8.0 to 9.0-ish battle rating region. And the reason for that was the fact that once you got up to above like 9.0-ish, you started seeing lots and lots of incredibly unbalanced vehicles. The biggest thing for a very long time was the A10 and SE25. You know, when they first came out, they were absolutely busted with their all-aspect missiles, destroying everything that was Flareless at this battle rating. But over time, as their stats continued to show they were overperforming and Gaijin slowly moved them up in BR, and eventually as we kicked and screamed to get Gaijin to move them up, we are now at a stage where the lowest all-aspect missiles are finally at 10.3 after the BR changes before last. The SE25 and the premium A10, the one that only gets 2 AIM-9Ls, are at 10.3, and basically everything else is at 10.7. This was an absolutely massive win, and I really wanted to talk about it back then, but there were still some big issues. The biggest of which at the time was the fact that the F104A was still absolutely busted at 9.3. Originally, it was at 10.0 before all the all-aspect missiles came in, but like all the other Flareless planes around this BR, it got absolutely destroyed by the AIM-9Ls and R60Ms. And so it kept going down and down in BR until it got to 9.3, where it was absolutely obliterating subsonics, and that also meant that all these Sabres and MiGs went down as well, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. Maybe another video. What really needed to happen was for them to go back up in BR, but Rider2 went ahead and put in a bug report showing that the F104s were overperforming a sustained turn rate, and so the F104s got a huge nerf recently, which I actually made a video on if y'all want to go back and check that out. So that was step 2 of the puzzle. The final thing was the fact that the F8U was still at 10.0 while everything else went up in BR. And for an entire, battle rating change per se, it was demolishing everything. Gaijin finally went ahead and moved the F8U up to 10.3 in the last battle rating change. That means that the final thing that was really oppressing this battle rating has gone up in BR. 9.0 especially, and 9.3 as well, now have some good breathing room. Flareless planes will definitely still be at a disadvantage, but now, even in a full up tier in a 9.3 vehicle, the most planes with all aspect missiles you can see is 4. If you didn't know, Gaijin actually uses something called quantitative matchmaking, which means that if you're in a 9.3, you can only see up to 4 10.3 vehicles. So there's also the chance that of those 4 10.3 vehicles, there could be a couple that don't have all aspect missiles, such as the F8, the F104J. This has breathed new life into a lot of planes, including the J32, which I'm actually playing today. I'm assuming a lot of y'all haven't seen this before, and if you don't know, it's basically a Hunter on steroids, which is probably why I enjoy playing it so much, because I absolutely adore the Hawker Hunter. The most standout thing about this plane, I would say, is probably the engine, because this thing makes an absolutely insane amount of thrust for a subsonic aircraft. It actually has more static thrust than the F104, despite being subsonic. Now, at higher speeds, it does fall behind, of course, but that does give you a good thrust-to-weight ratio for a subsonic aircraft, even if it is heavier than the F104. It actually has a better thrust-to-weight ratio than the F100D at almost every speed, for example, and compared to the subsonics that you'll be fighting a lot of time, for example, the MiG-17F, or also known as the Shenyang F5, or even the CL-13B, which is one of the scariest planes you can actually face in this, you have a better thrust-to-weight ratio than all of them. This means that in lobbies where most of the vehicles are in the 8.3 to 9.0-ish region, which are going to be a lot of your games, you will be able to outspeed, outrun, or outclimb basically every jet in your lobby. Now, at 9.3, and especially above that, you're going to start running into supersonics, of course, and those will be able to get you. Now, the thing is, compared to most of those, you are actually going to have some really nice high-speed retention, and a lot of them you'll actually be able to outturn. Not because you have, good turn rate, per se, because this is the closest thing I could compare to a Hunter, but just more so because you are slower than them. You can turn the best around the 900-ish to 1050-ish km/h range. At those higher speeds like I'm doing right here, you do compress a bit. You see, I'm still pulling 8-9 Gs and maintaining speed while I'm doing it. This is not bad flight performance, or I wouldn't call it a brick by any means of these higher speeds. But you're certainly not going to be winning any kind of dogfights, and you don't have a particularly good air brake either, so you will be overshooting quite often, just purely because you compress. And you just saw the handiwork of one of my other favorite parts about this plane, the guns. So if you have used the Aiden, you'll know exactly how lethal those guns are. They are some of the best guns in the game. If you ask me, they are the best guns you can have on a subsonic aircraft right now. They have okay velocity, not the greatest, but what they really do well is hit like an absolute truck. And they also maintain their velocity well over distance because they are heavier. Well, the A-Can is basically an Aiden, but it fires even faster. This does, of course, come with the small downside that you have to watch your trigger discipline just a little bit more, but it means that basically every time you connect with somebody, they are going to be immediately obliterated. And there's an even smaller chance of somebody being able to just slip through your shells. And you may notice I'm hanging on to my missiles and using them kind of sparingly, especially in those higher tier games, and this is why. If I did not have an AIM-9B right there, I would have been dead. You're going to want to use these if you are in a 10.3 game to make sure that you have something to flare AIM-9Ls or R60Ms in a head-on. I said there aren't many of them now. That doesn't mean they don't exist. You will get some up tiers from time to time, and there will be an A10 or SE25 in your game. Now, as long as you use your missiles to flare their missile, they're easy pickings. You can just spray at them in the head-on and pull out of the way, and 9 times out of 10 they'll die because they're so slow they can't get out of the way of the bullets in time. Of course, in a down tier like the one that you see right here, the AIM-9B is actually a pretty effective weapon, so you'll get a decent amount of kills with them, and 4 AIM-9Bs is an okay kit for 9.3. It's not particularly impressive, I mean, especially when you have stuff like that A4N over there, which gets 2 AIM-9Ds and 2 Shafir 2s, but 4 AIM-9Bs is fine. You'll be able to use them to clean up people all the time, and your big weapon is going to be your combination of speed with those guns. And a quick side note, if you want to see someone that is absolutely amazing at aiming guns and is also really good in duels as well, I recommend giving my friend Frozy's channel a try. There's a lot to learn there, and I am constantly impressed by how he just clicks and destroys people. I'll have his channel linked in the description as well. But yeah, hopefully Gaijin starts moving the supersonics back up in BR that were shoved down, you know, stuff like the MiG-19, the F-104, the MiG-21s, get them up away from the subsonics and let them go back up in BR. But even if they don't, 9.3 is in a good spot now, and it feels fairly healthy. There's always the option of just playing the A4N and absolutely fragging out as well. On that note, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. This will most likely be the last one before the update comes out, because I fully expect it to come out either Tuesday or Wednesday. I thought it would have come out 2 weeks ago. I'm actually shocked that it's this late. Hope y'all have a great day, and peace, y'all.